Hello and welcome to the Brad Young channel. I'm going to have a go at making a basic simplicity top, and it is this one, Simplicity 1133, and it is described as a tunic or beach wrap top. Now, I have actually made this before, this pattern, and it's not too bad. It's quite a basic pattern. It is one piece. The whole pattern is cut from one piece, and it's cut on the fold, and you open it out, and then once you've done that you just get some bias tape and go around the whole of the edge with some bias tape, and there you go. Put a couple of buttons on it and it's done, really. Not much else to it than that. The only thing is that when I did it previously, I made it in a, I think it's a poly cotton, so it's a woven non-stretch material. Whereas this time, I'm going to make it in a knit stretch material. This stuff. It's got lots of stretch in there. Like so. It looks like palm trees, doesn't it? I'm sure it is. White background, black palm trees. Let's get and open it out. As you can see, it's quite sort of got a certain amount of drape to it, and it's got a lot of stretch to it. Now, the tag on it says that it's a polyelastane with a material width of 145 centimetres, and the stretch is on the width 40 and on the length 20, so there's a lot of stretch in that. So I'm going to have fun with this, I think, because the first time I did it, I'd say that was with a woven, and that's what it's designed for, whereas it's not, I presume, not really designed for stretchy knits. So I've got a couple of considerations, well, yeah, at least a couple of considerations when it comes to actually cutting this out and sewing on that bias tape. So let's get into it and see if I can make this work. So another quick look at this fabric, have a look at see what it's actually like. I've got it on the width across the top here with a fold, so I can get the print in the right direction that I want. And this material is draping about all over the place, so my first consideration is, when I put the pattern on this, how am I going to get it, one, sort of squared up, and two, to stay steady, to stay still once I start trying to put the pattern on there. I've got to put it on, pin it on or something. One of my considerations is, before I put the pattern on it, is to actually stitch just some big tack stitches almost, just to hold the material in place before I put the pattern on and then cut round it. I might even use maybe a bit like what they call pad stitching. The only trouble is, though, I probably need to test that out, because this being a stretch knit, is it going to leave holes or marks where I do that? I mean, if I put pins in it, are those pins going to leave holes? I don't know. So it's something I'm going to have to test before I actually get to putting that on there and seeing how it goes. But yeah, I think I've got 2 meters of this, so there's plenty there to do that. Brings me on to the pattern though. Now, before I put the pattern on, the other thing I've got is the fact that this pattern was originally designed for a woven, or at least I think it just seems to be, because the original pattern's got a couple of pleats on it. Now this is cut on the fold. That would effectively be the centre, and it wraps round. You know what I mean? Comes over the shoulder. But there's a little dart here that's helped give it a bit of shaping, and there was a big side dart going all the way down there. Now the thing is, because it's a stretch, I decided, well, I don't really need that side dart, but I do need to keep the integrity of this curvature. So I've left this dart in, because it's only a small one, but I've removed this one, and literally I've just cut down because the dart is quite like one of those straight ones that goes all the way down, pretty much then narrows at the bottom. So I've literally just cut that out and put the two pieces up together, so I keep the curvature that I need. My thought was, well, hang on a minute, isn't it going to be a bit tight? It's stretch, it doesn't matter, it's going to just stretch. So, but I did think, well, I need to extend the back bit, so I put a little bit on this back curve here, just to bring it out just a little bit more, to stop it from losing too much from that curve, because that's the bit that goes round your back and covers your ass. Really, I don't want that hanging out really, but I mean, it's a big wrap top, you normally have something on underneath anyway, but you know what I mean. Still don't want my ass hanging out. So there you go, that's the pattern all ready and set, and I've just got to get that onto the fabric and then cut out. But yeah, let's have a think about that. Not got much room in here neither, so, and that's on carpet, so I've got to get some hard floor or something to put down on the floor so I can actually do this. It's all turned into a bit of a nightmare, and I haven't even started to cut the darn stuff out yet, but oh well, I've started, better get on with this. Now, to pin this pattern onto the actual material, I've decided to use some bigger pins. This here is my normal pin. This is what I normally use. It is, I don't know, however long that is. It's about 30mm. It's a 30mm length standard sort of pin that you get, glass-headed pin. Find these really useful. I decided I wanted something a bit bigger, especially with this stretch. I didn't want to be putting so many pins in the material. So I got hold of these things, which as you can see are significantly longer. These are supposedly 48mm by 0.8. Now these ones will probably be 0.5. I presume that's the diameter of the actual pin. But these are, yeah, as you can see, substantially bigger, so I get to put less pins in, and that holds across a greater width of material, so I put less pins in, hopefully do less damage, but also that length and strength of pin will hopefully hold it a bit better than my standard pins that I would normally use. Actually, when I'm pinning up material, I actually tend to use these pins, these diddy little ones. I don't know if you'll be able to see these. So they're really small little pins that I would normally use just to tack on material onto pattern onto material. But of course, this is a stretch material, so I just don't think they're going to work very well. So I've gone with this much bigger pin, and hopefully it'll work. I'll soon find out, I suppose, when I start cutting. Once I've cut it out, I suppose, and take them out, then I'll know whether or not I've completely ruined it or not, won't I? Having cut out my material fairly successfully, I suppose. It was a bit long-winded and took a bit of time. I had to be quite careful about how I was doing it. I can move on to the next part, which is actually putting the bias tape on. Now, I wasn't quite sure what bias tape I was going to use, so I'd done a little tester. Now, I've done some testing with this stuff, which is quite a wide bias tape, and I think this one, oh, not in the glasses. is a 25mm wide bias tape, that one, but it's in black, and I just wanted to see how well it sewed up. Basically, was it going to be easy? Was it going to be total pain in the backside? Would the stretchiness of the material stop me from sewing it, or was it just going to be nice and smooth? And the other bias tape I got was this, which is white, but this is only 12mm width. So the big difference between these two bias tapes. And the problem being is that when I've done my testing, it was to see just how well bias tape would take to it, but my consideration was to use the white, of which I bought loads of, but the black, I've only got this, which isn't enough, and the results are the black bias tape has gone on like that, which is quite well, really, I think. You know, it's followed the curve, because I did it on a bit of a curvature, and it seems to have gone on quite well. And with this one, all I did was literally fold it over, pin it on, and then stitch it. I just used white thread just so I could see what was going on with that. But it does seem to have worked quite well, which I'm quite happy with. And I did wonder if the white bias tape would work just as well. No, it doesn't. Basically, I've got to put the white bias tape on in the way that you're meant to put bias tape on, which is to open it out, you know, like you do, you open it out, and you stitch the one side, and then you have to fold it all over and stitch it on the other side. Because of the thinness of it, because it's only got the 12mm width in total across the whole width of it, then it just doesn't hold steady enough for me to just fold it over and sew it all in one go, like with the black one, which would have been great actually. Perhaps I should have got a load of white 25mm, and then I could have done it that way, and would have been a bit quicker, because now I've got to sew it twice, haven't I? Because I've got to sew it once to hold it on, and then again once I've folded it all over. But yeah, I think that'll work. A little more work involved in getting it on there, but afternoon of bias taping by the sounds of it, I think. Now, before I actually get on to putting this bias tape on, just a couple of other things, well, three things actually, that I just need to mention. First of all, it's like this bit is the part that comes round the back and over the shoulder, and this is where the buttonhole will be. And what I've done is I've just cut out another piece and put it on the back, so it's the same shape as the front. And then when the buttonhole is stitched into there, it'll have two layers to go through. So there's a bit more strength to it, so it's a bit more durable on there than just one layer on that bit. So I've done that on both sides, so the buttonhole will be a bit stronger. Next bit I've done is round the neckline. This part here actually folds down, and that's how it's meant to go. It says that in the instructions. So I folded the top down and then stitched across there. Again, this is where the button's going to anchor, so it's just a bit more strength because it's a double layer. So I've done that there, which is what I'm meant to do, so it gives a bit more, yeah, double layer strength, so that, you know, this buttonhole, it's all just to make it last a bit longer, I suppose. Should work all right anyway. But that's what I'm meant to do, so I've done that bit. And then the other bit I've done is, there it is, there's a dart. Now, there was a side dart that I've taken out that was here. It's a long side dart, but there was a little dart just here, which is around about here on the top. And I decided I wanted to leave that in, and I'd realised that I hadn't actually done it, so I've sewn that up on both sides. So there's a dart on both sides now, one over here and one over here. So that helps it, supposedly to give it a bit more shape. I know it's stretchy stuff, so it doesn't really matter, but, you know, thought I'd put it in anyway. And then there is the final conflict, which is bias tape. Now, I was going to use this thin stuff, but I do actually have a bit more wider stuff. I have this roll of black and this one of white, and I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough to do the whole thing, but I'm going to try because the thin stuff was a bit harder to put on. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to use this for the neckline, which is this bit here. This is the neckline. And then what I've got, once I've done that, whatever I've got left on this, I'm going to cut it in half and do one half on this side. So I'm running from this shoulder piece all the way round to this bit here, and just see how far I get, and do that on both sides. And then however far I get round it, whatever's left, I'm then going to use the black. So the black will be on the bottom edge mainly, and see how far I get with that. Hopefully, touch wood, I will have enough to do the whole thing, but I don't know until I start getting on with it. I do remember that when I did this before, it was something like about, I know, about 4 meters or more of bias taping that I need, and these are 2.5 meters each. Well, just about. I've taken a little bit off this one, so I'd like to hope I'll have enough, because it's quicker to put this tape on than it is to put the thinner stuff, because this I can just put on, fold over, pin it down and then stitch once, whereas with this stuff, because it's a bit thinner, I'll have to do it the proper way by stitching it twice to get it into place and to hold into place. See, the idea is that I don't want to spend all my time doing bias tape, of which I will. Well, I'll spend the afternoon doing bias tape, I just don't want to spend forever doing bias tape. So I'm going to give this one a go and see how far I get. Hopefully I've got enough. So yeah, I better get on with it really, because it's enough talking and not getting on, taking forever, and on I go. Well, that might not be absolutely brilliant, but it went better than I thought it would. I've used that zigzag. Maybe I don't necessarily need to use a zigzag, but I'm going to persevere with that because it seems to be working, because this is a stretch material after all, even though the bias bit is not stretch. Well, the bias tape's going on okay, but slowly, but I'm just about to reach my first really difficult point. Now, what it is, we've got here, this is where the buttonhole will go on this bit here, but the design is that this is a narrow curvature, and my experience the last time I did this really was quite a pain in the ass, because you've got to take this bias tape round this really narrow point, so it bunches up quite a bit. So I already know this is going to take me forever to just get round just this one little section because of the way that it's made. I think in future, if I was to do this again, I would change it so it's more like this. This is where the button actually attaches on. This is the front, where this bit meets this part, but I might make it more like this, so you've got the fold over. So extend this, square it off, and then fold it down so it's going to be more like that. So you'll have two square points that meet. Maybe it might not look quite as good, but as far as the actual process of making this, trying to sew around this really narrow curvature it's a nightmare. This is why this takes so darn long. This is why I'm resigned my life to stitching this bias on. Well, here it is, finally finished. I'd say it was really quick, but it wasn't. It took a lot longer than I'd expected, a lot longer than I wanted it to take. So yeah, it's come out all right. I mean, and it looks all right. I love the pattern. It's a stretch knit, and I've done this pattern before, and I used a polycotton mix, which was a woven, and this is a stretch knit, so a bit different, looks a bit different, sits a bit different, but it's certainly quite nice. I like the way it feels, the fact that it can be super close and clingy and at the same time sit just fine, so I'm really quite happy with that. I like the way the back comes together, and it does actually properly overlap, and it's not super long. It's not, you know, it's I suppose quite a short tunic type top, cover up, that's what it's meant to be, beach wrap top, and I quite like it. It seems to fit really well. Yeah, it's all round quite good and quite versatile, I suppose. And what I've done is I've substituted the buttons for Velcro, because buttonholing stretchy stuff is absolutely impossible. So with Velcro straps, it comes off really quite quickly and easily. Now, that's not to say that the top is super well finished or anything. Actually, it's far from perfect, and I do mean far from perfect. But there you go. When you start these new projects on materials and that you've not really used before, it's never going to go perfect, is it? But I have ended up with a wearable garment. It's gone quite well, and that's the Simplicity 1133 beach wrap top, or tunic / wrap top. It says on here super jiffy. Well, no, not really. I suppose if you were an experienced sewist and you've done lots of jobs or works or projects with stretchy knits and sewing on bias tape, then probably it would be super jiffy. But if you're like me and it was something I've never really worked with before, then no, it wasn't super jiffy. Whole afternoon, well, more than a whole afternoon, putting bias tape on, and yeah, it looks a bit manky in some places, but it's worked. And I suppose the main thing about this top about doing this top, I'm going to have to learn to speak at some point, aren't I? Get my words right. What I've liked about doing this top is that I've learnt from doing it. I've learnt that stretchy knits are not easy. Doing bias tape on stretchy knits is really not easy. And even though this is a one-piece pattern with just a big long length of bias tape, I think it's taught me a lot about handling stretchy materials, and about doing bias tape. So really it's a win all round, really, because I think I've learned quite a bit from doing this, and I've enjoyed doing it, and I've got a garment that I can actually wear. It doesn't be worn on the beach or when it's really hot. Mind you, not that it's going to be really hot. It has been really hot. This is the UK. Apparently we had a heat wave. Well, we did have a heat wave actually, and it was quite nice, but it's starting to rain now, so I've probably missed summer, so I'll just have to go in the cupboard until it is really nice again. Or I go to the beach maybe. Who knows? I haven't decided yet, but there you go. Yeah, all in all, I enjoyed doing it, and it was a good way to learn and experiment. So there you go. Beach wrap top in stretchy knit. Well, thank you very much for watching my video. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye.